Business Sidekick.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Business Sidekick. I'm Justyna, LiveChat content writer and marketer, and this is our podcast dedicated to growing your online business.
Business Sidekick.
If you have listened to our previous episodes, you're already familiar with market research, you already know tips on how to build an effective website and optimize it for SEO, and you know much more about selling than ever. You have more and more customers visiting your website and your business is bringing you money. But at the same time, you start to get first inquiries from your customers. They make mistakes in their addresses, they are being lost in the billing process, they are not sure if their product is already shipped, or they don't understand how does your application work. So you have two choices: to answer each question they have and help them resolve their problems one by one, or you can give them knowledge base and let them self-help. So today's episode is about how not to waste your time and how to create a knowledge base. My today's guest is Justyna Janowska, who will tell you about her experience in building LiveChat knowledge base.
Business Sidekick.
Hi Justyna, thanks for being here. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, hi everyone. My name is Justyna and currently I'm working in a product team at LiveChat, but previously I used to support customers and also write knowledge-based articles for LiveChat.
Okay, so my first question, if someone wants to start a knowledge base, but they don't know where to start from, what would be your advice? How to find out what's the most important for your customers?
Well, obviously you need to know your customers, and the best way to know your customers is to talk to them and also analyze their requests, their questions. For my own experience, I can tell you that for me it was to analyze archives from our chats and talk to our customer support as well, because they're the first-hand contact with customers. So they were best informed and knew what questions customers asked.
So the most frequent questions were the inspiration for you to write an article, right?
Yes, exactly. And I find them in our archives using tags. So I used to check which tags were most frequent, and based on that I knew the questions that were most frequent as well. So I knew the trend and questions that customers asked based on that.
Can you give an example?
The first thing that comes to my mind was when I checked the archives and I noticed that there were lots of tags for billing. So based on that, I knew that there was something wrong with our billing side, and customers were confused with the way we explain that in our documentation. So I checked those articles and I noticed that customers ask about basically our billing structure. And then I checked if we have an article in our knowledge base about that, and there was an article, but a very short one. So I revised it and posted it to our knowledge base. And later on, I waited for a bit and checked if a number of questions about billing dropped. It was helpful because our customer support had an article that they were able to send customers, so they didn't have to explain things over the chat. So just send the link and customers could help themselves. So it was like a self-help for them.
Awesome. And do you inform your customers that you have written a knowledge-based article?
It's not a formal announcement that we send some kind of newsletter. But as I mentioned, if a customer comes to our chat because he or she cannot find the answer in our knowledge base, then our customer reps send them a link to this article. But usually, if we write a new article that addresses those questions, customers are able to help themselves. So they don't need to start a chat because they just type the question in the search bar and the article pops
When you're writing an article, you have to follow certain steps. Can you tell something about how to write such article?
You need to be helpful, you need to be mindful, and you need to be clear. So everything you explain has to be written for, like, you need to imagine that your customer is a beginner type of customer and write it as simple, as clear as possible.
Yeah, a similar thing is for content marketing, because every time you write a post, many writers write for their moms, actually, because they're quite sure that their moms wouldn't understand the topic. So it's very helpful.
Yeah, and you need to avoid jargon. So that's an important tip, because usually if you know your product, then you think that what you write is very clear, but it's not that obvious for everyone. And visual tips, so images, graphs and screenshots are very useful as well, because people have different intelligence types. So some people learn by reading, others learn by looking at things, and also it helps people to skim through your article and find what's important.
All right, so is there any piece of advice you would give to people that don't have LiveChat? Because we were talking about our tool, right? So most of people will have like emails and phones.
Well, they should talk to their customers, try to understand them, and browse through those information that they have, even if these are emails or some transcripts of phone conversations, and try to find a pattern, things that customers ask the most. And then based on that, you can create a frequently asked questions kind of thing, and build on that, because not everyone has to have a knowledge base that's such
huge from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly, because it can be overwhelming. So it's best to start small, create frequently asked questions base, and then build on that.
That's a very good idea, because some people think that you have to write like 20 articles at one time to have a proper knowledge base, and that's not the case, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Let's sum it up.
Knowledge base can help you to shorten call times. It can work as a training tool, and it's great for SEO, obviously, as having pages with useful content that's constantly updated means that you will get a Google boost. So if you want to write your first knowledge base article, stick to these tips. First thing you want to do is to do a small research and to check out what makes the biggest problem for your customers. Check your emails and see what are the most popular questions, or you can send them just a survey after a purchase with a request to rate their experience. You can check out SurveyMonkey, for example. And once you know what are your customers' pain points, create the frequently asked questions section on your website. It will be a good base to start your knowledge base with. You can turn each response into a full article later. And then when you decide to write your first article, remember that simplicity is key to success. Don't use specific jargon, write short and simple sentences, and try to describe everything step by step. Try to imagine that you're explaining this process to your mother. It will definitely help you to explain everything clearly. Remember about visuals. Pictures and screenshots are awesome. You can also think about recording video tutorials or demos. Also remember that your writing needs to look neat. You need add headings, subheadings, and bullet lists. And last but not least, if you don't feel like you can write 10 articles at once, write just 1 or 2 of them. Your simple knowledge base will grow over time, and one day you will end up with an awesome source of knowledge for your customers and future support agents.
Business Sidekick.
That's all for today. If you have any questions, you can contact me via our website livechatinc.com/podcast. And if you like this podcast, show me some love and share it on your social media page or rate it on iTunes. And if you don't want to miss the next episode of Business Sidekick, subscribe to the podcast newsletter. Only important stuff, I promise. Thanks for listening. I wish you the best knowledge base ever. Cheers!
This podcast was brought to you by LiveChat.